We are asked to calculate root of 7 factorial plus 8 factorial plus 9 factorial, all divided by 7 factorial. So let's understand what we know and what we are looking for. We know that we are given 7 factorial. We're also given 8 factorial. And we're also given 9 factorial. First step that we need to take in solving this is to understand what factorial is. When you are given a number, let's say n factorial, what this means is that for a positive number n, we will need to multiply n by the numbers that are less than n, beginning from n until we get to 1. What do I mean? For any number n, the factorials are n multiplied by n minus 1 multiplied by n minus 2. We'll continue until we get 3, 2, and 1. We'll continue multiplying by a number that is 1 less than the number until we get to 1. Then we can say that these are the factorials of n factorial. So example, 5 factorial is 5 multiplied by number 1 less than 5, and that is 4. And what is the other number that is 1 less than 4? And that is 3. 1 less than 3 multiplied by 2. And then the last one, 1 less than 2 is 1. So we'll continue to multiply by a number 1 less than that number n, or 5 in this case, until we get to 1. These are the factorials of 5. So whatever our final answer is our factorial. In this case, 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. 20 multiplied by 3 is 60. 60 multiplied by 2 is 120. 120 multiplied by 1 is still 120. So 5 factorial is 120. This is the first foundation of what we need to understand what a factorial is, and we will use this knowledge to solve this. So if we are to write this question for clarity's sake, so that we don't get lost in what we're doing, 7 factorial plus 8 factorial plus 9 factorial, all divided by 7 factorial. We need to ask ourselves one question. If we go this route by saying, let's first of all find 7 factorial, we say 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. It will take us time to solve this question, this simplification question, and we will have large numbers that may be difficult for us to handle. Question that we need to ask ourselves again is there another way that we can solve this for us to get the question and the right answer fast? If you look closely, we ask ourselves, is there a way to eliminate this 7 factorial for it to be easy for us to solve the numerator? Look, can you see any way? The common mistake students make is they will try to cancel out this 7 factorial with this 7 factorial, forgetting that there is a plus sign here and there is a plus sign here. We can only do this when this is a multiplication sign, this is a multiplication sign. But since we have an addition sign here, we do not need to do this. This will be wrong. The best way we can solve this question is to use what we can call factorial relationship. If we look closely, we see that we can get 7 factorial in each of these numerators. So let's get out 7 factorial from them. We know that 8 factorial is 8 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. If we look closely, we can see that from here is our 7 factorial. Just the same thing we did here. We can see our 7 factorial is still from 7 down to 1. We can say that 8 factorial is 8 multiplied by 7 factorial. For 9 factorial, let's see how we can also extract 7 factorial from 9 factorial. 9 factorial, we have 9 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 and then multiply by 1. If we also see that from here we have our 7 factorial. Therefore, 9 factorial can be rewritten as 9 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 7 factorial. And if we simplify this further, 9 multiplied by 8 is 72. 72 multiplied by 7 factorial. Now everything in the question now has 7 factorial. We now have seen that we have 7 factorial in 8 factorial and also 7 factorial in 9 factorial. We'll apply this in this question. The next step is that we are going to write 8 factorial as 8 multiplied by 7 factorial, and then we are going to also rewrite 9 factorial as 72 multiplied by 7 factorial. So in this equation, wherever we see 8 factorial, we'll put this, and wherever we see 9 factorial, we'll also put this. So let's rewrite the question before we now substitute. 7 factorial plus 8 factorial plus 9 factorial, all divided by 7 factorial. But let's make the substitution. Wherever we see 8 factorial, we'll put 8 multiplied by 7 factorial. So this can be rewritten as 8 multiplied by 7 factorial plus 72 multiplied by 7 factorial, all divided by 7 factorial. At this point, it is now easier for us to factor out 7 factorial. So we need to factor out 7 factorial in this question. To do this, we can see that there is an invisible 1 that is multiplying 7 factorial. So 7 factorial can be written as 1 multiplied by 7 factorial, okay, plus 8 multiplied by 7 factorial. We are not changing anything by introducing this 1, okay, because 1 multiplied by any number is still that number, plus 72 multiplied by 7 factorial, all divided by 7 factorial. We'll continue. If we factor out 7 factorial from the numerator because it is common, we'll have 7 factorial, open parenthesis, 1 plus 8. We'll factor out this 7 factorial plus we'll factor out this 7 factorial, leaving us with 72, all divided by 7 factorial. Now we can see that 7 factorial is out and 7 factorial is out, and here we have our multiplication sign, and we can easily cancel out 7 factorial for us to have just this in parentheses. So what we now have will be 1, just what is inside this parenthesis, 1 plus 8 plus 72. This will give us 1 plus 8 is 9 plus 72. If we continue, 9 plus 72 is 81. And what is the square root of 81? Root of 81 is 9, because 9 times 9 is 81. So the final solution is 9. So one common mistake that students make that we need to take care of and avoid is this very step. Forgetting that when we are factoring, that there is a 1 here, okay? That 1 is multiplying 7 factorial. If we miss this step, we'll get a wrong and a different answer. So note this. Whenever you have a number, there is 1 multiplying the number. Or rather, you can say multiply the number by 1, it will still remain that number. When we are factoring, we introduce that 1 for it to help us to get our solution. So our final answer is 9. So if you enjoyed this episode, kindly click the like button, comment your questions, and subscribe. And remember to turn on your notification and return for more.